Welcome back. You're watching The Breakfast Club, and it's that time on the program where we chat with our person of interest. Our guest today is paving the way for future generations of women to unleash their true potential. Don't we all just love that? Joining us live today is Dr. Shamoly Khera. She's an author. She's a media producer, executive coach, one of the Time magazine's influential personalities of 2021. Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
In her latest book, Letters to the Daughters of Tomorrow, Breaking the Stereotypes to Unleash Her Potential, she explores the age-old challenges that women face in a patriarchal society and the conditioning that often holds them back.
Right, we have the book right here. She also offers in this book solutions. So powerful insights on how today's women can overcome these obstacles, shape a future where they can thrive as leaders, dreamers, achievers. Dr. Shamoly Khera refers to today's generation of working women as the transition generation. To her, it's one that will blaze the path for the others that are yet to come, the younger Gen Z women that are yet to come. So, right from lessons on resilience to smashing stereotypes, we hope this conversation inspires you. Let's go over to Dr. Shamoly to ask her a first question on this entire book. Doctor, tell us before each chapter, there's a little poem you've written, and we'll get into it in a second. But first, I wanted to ask you, in India, when you think of leaders, we're different from other countries in the sense that, and let's just talk about political leaders for a second, we're no stranger to female political leaders, right? Right from the present tense, Delhi has a female chief minister. You've had Mayawati in the past, Sheila Dikshit in the past, Indira, like all these names. So we're not in some ways not used to female leaders. At the same time, it is a unique relationship that we share with women and with the gender of a woman, what we expect from a woman. And it's different from the West. A country like the US has never seen a female president.
Right.
How do you see that? How does India, for you, treat their women leaders who recognize the leader within them?
You know, I think India is a fantastically diverse country where the roles of women are very fascinating. I think that's one of the reasons why I wanted to write this book, because we do glorify the role of women while talking about household and how important a role there is, while we also do have leaders. My issue is that there are very few out there, and even the names that you've just mentioned of the lovely political Indian leaders that we've had, they're far too less. I feel we can have more here. And I feel this is pretty much the transition generation where that change will happen, where it will be okay for us to see women working outside the house, where it will be normal for the kids to see the women stepping out and working, where it's not just seen as an added income to the family, where it is a lot about her aspirations and if she's really achieving her true potential. So I feel India is a very, very extreme country. There are families and societies that do encourage women to step out, but there are also societies where it's absolutely discouraged. So I think that's the conversation we want to focus on.
Right. Dr. Shamoly, you know, the book has a very fascinating subject, 3 women talking about it. What better sort of setting to sort of do that? But, you know, it says letters to the daughters of tomorrow. These letters will actually go through the mothers of today. And as a mother of today, I have to tell you, the biggest struggle that we have is have good role models. Good role models who will prioritize work along with having a stable family life. And we were just discussing hustle culture before you. There's always this pick and choice that one has to make. And, you know, very interesting, I want to point out, we interviewed Radhika Gupta a couple of days ago, and she said, and I was trying to ask her, that how do you do it all? How do you become the CEO and also be a mother of a toddler in the same year? And she said, people see this, what they don't see is that I've had 4 miscarriages earlier. So where are the inspirations for mothers of today?
You know, you're absolutely right. I mean, when it comes to women, very interestingly, it's always women who have to make the choice. But when we talk to our sons, when we are bringing up, you know, the men of tomorrow or the boys of tomorrow, the constant conversation with them is they are going to be the breadwinners of their future families. So, of course, they do have to build a career. They do have to have, you know, a stable source of income. And that's the conversation that we're having with them. But somehow, when it comes to women, we are constantly putting putting them in a bracket where they have to choose when it comes to even the job, when it comes to the great promotion, and when it comes to, should I focus on my maternity leave or should I focus on this project that I have at hand? And interestingly, it's always her choice to lose. So I feel that's the conversation that we must change, because the balance does start at home. When we do encourage the men also to kind of share the workload at home, to also equally take care of the family, or child rearing or the household activities, I think balance or gender balance begins at home. It can't be just at work. So I think our men and sons also need to be a part of that conversation. And you're absolutely right. I often quote Michelle Obama, who said that women can have it all, but maybe not at the same time, which means that even in a marriage or in a marital situation, it's a partnership of not always 50-50. It might be 80-20. Some days it might be 60-40 or 30-70, which means that one partner may have to give it a bit more while the other is at work. And I think that truly stems from having the conversation equally with our daughters and sons.
You actually said this as you were sitting down, that this book is as much for men as it is for women, and you want men also to pick it up to read it. Can I ask you, Doctor, one more question here? One of the numbers, there are quite a few statistics in this book that really hit home. One of them is that you say that, and I'm going to read it here, you say 33% of bullies in the workplace are women. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about that, because the book delves into this idea that sometimes the biggest enemy for a woman is other women, and you talk about the generational conflict that comes in there. And I just want to ask you, I read this, and you discussed this, it's a bit of a chicken and egg situation, because we're also in spaces that make us competitive with each other, women uniquely. So how do you rebuild a situation like that when you're in a competitive space naturally? What is your word there?
You're absolutely right. I mean, when this research, when I came across this research, it's called the Queen Bee Syndrome, which means that women at work are generally more tough to women at workplace as opposed to male colleagues or, male juniors. And when you dive deep into it, I mean, from the over facade, and when you really see deep inside, you're absolutely right. It comes from the insecurity that because there are lesser women at workplace, women often feel that if I help the other one, I might be replaced, or I might be easily replaceable, or there are already lesser women at the top, and if I pull in more, my position might be threatened. And I think that's a mindset that we need to change. Having said that, I personally haven't come across too many, because I have come across women who've been very helpful at work to me, but this statistic exists, which means that it is happening at some places. So I often say that as women on top, I think it's also kind of our responsibility that if we are able to get our foot in the door and kind of make space for ourselves, our mindset should be, how do I fill the seats next to me with more women, or how do I make more space for women in this boardroom, or more women to be a part of the table or sit on the table with me. So when you have that mindset, and when you don't think that your seat is threatened, I think you come from a different perspective. And if a woman ever helps you, you will only feel like giving it back. You will only feel like wanting to pull another woman, and it just continues. So because I have seen such amazing examples, and I've been a part of beautiful chains where women have literally helped me grow, even personally, professionally, that I kind of feel that I want to pull more women up. And I think it's a beautiful feeling. And when that happens with you, you do want to give it back. So I think everyone at the top, all women at the top, should start that.
Yeah, goodness begets goodness, and the other way around as well. I think that's what you're getting at, and happens at home as well, in our family setups as well. So I want to, Dr. Shamoly, sort of touch upon another subject here, and about participation of women in the workforce. Over the years, statistics tell you that women participation in the workforce has increased. However, that number is largely at the bottom of the pyramid. We haven't seen that percolate to the leadership level. COVID has set that journey back for several women. and they've not been able to make their way back into newsrooms, into workplaces, into other things just yet. What is required there then? How do we balance this statistic out professionally?
You know, it's very interesting. During the process of writing this book, I was interviewing some matchmakers. And because, like you rightly said, the statistics said that the workforce, the women in workforce is kind of dropping. But funnily enough, in the education segment, in education systems, the number is rising. So there are more women who are getting educated. There are more parents who are encouraging kids to go get, masters or go get higher education. But somehow that's not translating to the workforce. And when you look deep inside, you will be surprised at what's happening. So I spoke to one of the matchmakers, and they said that parents are encouraging daughters to study, but most times it's to make sure they're the perfect package to get married. And that was absolutely shocking. This came from, an area of the city that I thought was fairly advanced and progressive. So I was very shocked to hear that. So a lot of education is probably happening for the wrong reasons or for the wrong intent. How do we actually get our women financially independent is where the conversation should be. The kind of pressure we put on the boys of being the breadwinner. We celebrate their milestones, right? When they buy their first car, the first house, and first all of that. Why do we, have different milestones for the girl? Why do we say the marriage, the first baby, the second baby? Why are they her milestones? Why can't we have the similar ones for her? Her first job, her first salary, her first car, her first rented house. So I think that conversation needs to change. Having more women in the workforce is a cumulative effort, because first the families need to kind of have that expectation from the woman of wanting her to be financially independent, of not making her feel that it's okay, she can grow up in a father's house and then have a husband take care of her later, and then if she feels like step out to work. When you give that option, you're actually cutting her wings off. It feels like, oh, we are giving her the freedom to be, but are you actually giving her a sense of freedom by helping them be financially independent is I think a core burning cause that will make more women be in the workforce.
I want to share with you, a friend of mine married her PhD recently. She had a wedding ceremony for her for completing her PhD, and it made all of us stand up and go, this is very cool, this is very different. But I do want to ask you one more question here. You also say in the book that women are biologically blessed to be leaders. And let's almost end this interview on that note, because I want the women watching in particular to take that message home with them. But I want you to explain to our audiences what you mean when you say that.
So there was this, again, interesting research, where the very important 5 qualities of leadership were being taken out. And when they biologically checked the genders, the women were rated higher on factors of leadership, including accountability, empathy, and, having the sense of what a leader should have, as opposed to men. Even though they rated very well, they lacked a bit on empathy. So I feel our look or our outlook on leadership, where we look at an aggressive alpha male leader, has to somewhere change, because going forward, even your previous story of hustle culture, I think empathetic leadership is going to take the lead of leaders who understand, who empathize with their employees, who really kind of take the entire situation, the emotional situation of the employee into the workforce as well. So I was thrilled when I found out that we are biologically more blessed, but this is where I'm like, then where are the women leaders? Why are they such low in numbers? And when you look at the top of the ladder, I was like, there are few at the top of the ladder, but you realize that there are very few at the bottom of the ladder also, because we need more of them to start the process, more of them to enter, and more of them to not step out midway. Most of them really trickle out during their milestones, which is the marriage or the first pregnancy, second pregnancy, and then it's so much about the second innings, or how do I get back on my feet. So I think the support there from a corporate structure is absolutely essential, where the corporate kind of backs them up that the job will be secured, and kind of then maternity leave, paternity leave all comes into play, and that kind of cushioning will really help women grow forward.
Dr. Shamoly, I don't think a conversation has resonated so much with both of us in the recent past like this one. This is the book to all of our viewers who are watching right now. Go out, purchase your copy. For the men too, please give this a read. All right, we're going to move on. Thank you, Doctor, for joining us here on the show. We're going to take you, our audiences, now to stories from India and across the entire globe. Our first